Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome aboard the industry-leading Full Throttle training and trading program brought to you by TOPGUN Options. I want to knock out this welcome aboard brief so we can save some time and focus on the live trading and training throughout the week. Reminder, nobody else in the industry does this. I'm the only guy that opens up the doors to our trading squadron, and you get to come in and watch our current member briefs, watch me trade with real capital, the positions I'm taking, profits, losses, you name it. Now, the typical Full Throttle flow is a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday brief. About an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half. It just depends on what's going on in the world. Now, if you're looking at that typical flight schedule and you say, hey, man, I work for a living, 85% of TGO members work for a living. They get text alerts, they get app alerts, they get email alerts, and they can watch the replay later. Just like you can watch the Full Throttle replays later if you don't make it to one of the briefs. So let me share with you the Full Throttle replay page. You can watch all the replays on go.topgunoptions.com/FT-replay. The most recent replay will be up at the top and the previous days will be underneath. And then towards the bottom of the page will be the ability for you to enroll either in our industry-leading Full Throttle training or our entry-level service called Solo Amazon. go.topgunoptions.com/FT-replay. Now, there are occasions where we'll do a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday brief. It just depends on what's going on in the world, in the United States, in markets. That's why this isn't death by PowerPoint. This is live trading and training here at Top Gun Options. So, who am I? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matthew Buckley. You can call me Wiz. I earned that call sign flying the FA-18 Hornet for the United States Navy for about 15 years. I graduated from the Navy Fighter Weapons School, also known as Top Gun, in the adversary course, and I deployed for Operation Southern Watch, Noble Eagle, and Enduring Freedom. Now, you might be sitting there going, what's this have to do with trading? Well, everything. You don't join the Navy to get rich, folks. You join the Navy to see the world and serve your country. But in the background, I was always interested in finance. So I taught myself how to trade stocks and options. And I learned something along the way. Trading is a form of combat when you think about it, right? Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to get their ass kicked. Which one do you want to be? So I started using all the same things I was learning flying a fighter to trading, having a strategy, implementing tactics that support that strategy, managing risk. Now you're looking at that picture of me inverted over the skies of Fallon, Nevada, where Top Gun is going, yeah, okay, this guy's going to talk to me about managing risk. Yeah, I am. Because as a fighter pilot, as an options trader, I want to minimize or eliminate all known risks, right? And then contingency planning. Thinking through before I even get airborne, what could reasonably go wrong on this mission that I can talk about right now, sitting in the air conditioning, sipping on my Diet Coke or my venti upside down caramel macchiato if I was an Air Force guy, right? Well, I applied that to my trading and it worked extremely well. But specifically, why did I start Top Gun Options? Well, sadly, Top Gun Options was basically started as a result of one of the most horrific tragedies in our nation's history. I got off active duty in 2000 and I won the lottery. What was winning the lottery in the year 2000 as a fighter pilot? Getting hired by American Airlines and getting hired to fly fighters on the weekends in a reserve squadron, and that was me. So my first day of work at American Airlines as a pilot was the morning of September 11th. I was scheduled to fly my first flight from DFW down to Miami and Miami on to Cancun. I was supposed to be in a conga line the night of September 11th. Well, I was packing for my trip and my beautiful bride came in holding our young son, Matthew, and said, you better come take a look at the TV. Somebody hit the World Trade Center with an airplane. And, you know, I was like, oh, I'm busy, woman. What are you talking about? Bad weather, small airplane. I'm packing, can't you see? And she had that look on her face and I was like, well, okay, that's something's up. So I went out and I saw the same thing you all did on the TV. Beautiful day in New York City, not a cloud in the sky, and a massive smoking hole. And as I stood there going through my mental aviation checklist of how that possibly could have happened, boom, I saw the next plane hit, and I immediately knew we were under attack. I raced into the bedroom. I reached into the closet. I still have my American Airlines uniform in the plastic from that day as a reminder. I pushed that out of the way, and I grabbed for the familiar warm feeling of my flight suit and threw my flight suit on, my boots, didn't even tie them, jumped into my old Porsche and broke the land speed record getting out to Naval Air Station Fort Worth. And I got out there just as they went to a combat posture, THREADCON Delta. Me and a buddy made it to our F-18 squadron. We called down and said, Chief, get 2 of the jets ready. Next door was an F-16 squadron. The general called over and said, Wiz, what do you got? I said, it's me and Gruff, sir. He said, well, I got a couple guys. Come over to the command post. And this was like Lexington and Concord, folks. There's 4 Air Force guys and 2 F-18 guys in the command post briefing to fly a combat air patrol over the United States of America. It was one of the most surreal experiences of my life. Now, the F-16 guys got ready quicker and they launched first. Gruff and I went to the end of the runway fully armed. We had bullets, we had missiles ready to shoot down an airliner. I went from potentially flying in an airliner that day, folks, to shooting one down. To shooting down an airliner flown by a best friend. Out of the 17, 19 pilots in my reserve squadron, most of them were airborne that day flying an airliner. Could you imagine being ordered to shoot down an airliner full of you, let alone your best friend? It was just an absolutely horrific, surreal experience. A couple days later, I launched, made national news, intercepting a guy that was flying in prohibited airspace around the Bush Ranch. So it sucked. I got home the night of September 11th. I don't even know what time. I just crashed exhausted on the couch in my flight suit and woke up the next day. And man, the world was completely different. About, I don't know, I'd say a week later, I got like a photocopied letter from American Airlines HR that's, dear crew member, you're furloughed. And if you're not familiar, furloughed's a polite airline term for laid off. So I lost my job, lost my health care, in the blink of an eye. And but that didn't last too long, that feeling of woe is me, because looking at TV and seeing loved ones with, have you seen my husband flyers at ground zero? I'm like, dude, get over yourself. There are people who got it a lot worse than you, man. Get up. And I did. I had to. I had a young son and my bride, and it was time to get serious. I got to pay the bills. Let's go. So, like I said, in the background, I taught myself how to trade. Now I had to do it to really pay the bills. And it worked so well that I eventually popped up on the radar of one of the largest volatility arbitrage firms headquartered right there. You see those big, beautiful windows in that building. Most of you should know, watch Batman, the Chicago Board of Trade. And I jokingly tell people I felt like Eddie Murphy, Valentine in Trading Places. Just this average retail trader off the street going to the big leagues. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was one of the most life-changing experiences for some good and for some very bad reasons. But when I was there, I helped build the retail brokerage options house. I helped build a volatility arbitrage hedge fund. It was an experience, folks, but I got to be honest with you. At the beginning of my time there, I was still flying fighters. And going from a fighter squadron where you trust the men and women in that organization with your life, or they're just not a part of that organization for long, to a trading firm where I couldn't watch somebody to, I couldn't trust somebody to watch my wallet for 5 minutes when I went to the bathroom. It was just, I'm not joking, man. There were probably guys there who would push their own mother in front of a bus for $1. It was just not the pursuit of money. I became even more disconnected from my God, my bride, my children, my values and my mission. But I was the managing director of strategy for a multi-billion-dollar vol arb firm, and I was the founder and CEO of the Options News Network. We were essentially the CNBC for options. We'd shoot on the floor of the CBOE and the CBOT, giving folks like you all a behind-the-scenes look at what was going on in the options market. But it was an interesting experience. This was us. One of the best things about being in Chicago was living out in Naperville, Napertucky, and my beautiful ice princess, Keely Grace, being born in a snowstorm. So I love that picture because that's about the time we were getting ready to leave Chicago. There's my oldest son, Matthew, on the right. He's in the Florida Air National Guard, wants to take after his old man. My middle son, Jack's, over on the left. He's going to be a senior at Colorado, and Keely is going to be a freshman at Ole Miss. Man, don't blink. It just it goes way too quick. A little bit more about me. I wrote a book about my experiences going from essentially the cockpit to the trading pit, or the trading floor, so to speak, in sea level to sea level. And then in the year 2020, man, we absolutely printed money in the COVID crash. I knew President Trump was lying in Davos in, what was it, January of 2020, when he Joe Kiernan interview, when Joe asked him, like, oh, Mr. President, what, before you go, what's up with this China bug or this flu or whatever? And he's like, dumb question, Joe. Nobody asks dumb questions more than you. You're an idiot. Not coming here. I trust ye. Great backswing. Been to Mar-a-Lago. You're an idiot. I looked into this camera and I told TGO members he's lying. Get out. Buy puts on the S&P 500 right now with everything you have and get long volatility. We made $2.8 million in profitable trades in a month. Wrote a book about it. Show you all the trades, show everything. I did outsider trading. There were congressmen and senators who, left classified briefings and said, remain calm, everything's fine, and then picked up their cell phone and called their broker and their best friends and family and told everybody to get out. I did outsider trading, right? So what else do I do? I've one of the top-rated podcasts in the world. We're ranked in the top 2.5%. Well, how many podcasts? 3.3 last count million podcasts, and it seems like you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a podcaster. It's called the Max Afterburner Podcast. Go check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and all those cool places. Along the lines of the Chicago kind of tough transition out of the military, I had a horrific childhood. I was sexually abused as a child, Irish Catholic kid, 6 kids, South Jersey, South Philadelphia family. And then at the age of 19, my beautiful sister Monica, she was the glue. She was the middle of our family. She was killed at Villanova University by a drunk driver. It was a hand grenade that technically I lost my parents that day. My dad was done. My parents were never the same. So a lot of childhood trauma. And then flying fighters for 15 years for the United States Navy, I lost 16 buddies. Not a single combat loss that I knew. There were F-18s, Tomcats, A-6s that were shot down. I didn't know any combat losses. 16 buddies. Training, weather, stupidity, mechanical issues. But it was tough. It was absolutely tough. And along the way, discovered that flying fighters ain't healthy. Fighting the jet on the edge of consciousness in gray out, right? Before you pass out, the first thing to go is tunnel vision. You start graying out. Man, I would fight the jet on the edge of gray out. Your body's not designed to do that. And obviously, as a naval aviator, slamming, go sit in your driveway in your car. Have a crane bring you up to the second story and drop you. I've had hundreds of car crashes aboard aircraft carriers. And sadly, along the way, I've lost 4 F-18 brothers to suicide. That's one of the happiest days of my life. That's my wedding. And that's one of my best friends, Captain Eric Swenson, Swede, 5 kids, beautiful bride, decided he didn't want to be here anymore. So suicide, trauma, childhood stuff, Wall Street stuff. In 2020, after I made that 2.8 million-ish in about a month, I said, Susie, my beautiful bride, I said, man, we're not pharaohs, right? They're not putting the money in our casket, to take with us. So I said, let's do something. Let's do something about veteran suicide. Currently, I don't believe anything the government says, but the current government numbers are anywhere from 17 to 22 veterans take their lives every day. Duke University and the University of Alabama, I believe those two institutions over the government, say that number is closer to 44. I hate putting this energy out to the universe. Could you imagine? Let's use the government number. Could you imagine, God forbid, 22 children were shot, not once a year, every day in a school shooting? Even the pro-gun nuts in this country would go banana. We would do something immediately. But since it's 22 to 44 veterans, I get a look of, oh my God, that's a horror. Somebody, thank you for your service. Somebody should help them. Well, guess what? I did, or I do. So in 2020, I started a foundation called TOPGUN Fighter Foundation. I was a little too fighter pilot centric. And then a buddy of mine, but I stood in this office right here staring at the whiteboard. How do you keep a veteran from killing themselves? Pay the mortgage or the rent, help them write their resume or buy them a suit. I was clueless. And around that time, a buddy of mine said, hey, there's a group of Navy SEAL veterans that go down to Mexico and they do psychedelic assisted therapy. And there's a really cool group going in a couple weeks. Would you want to go? And I said, man, go to Mexico for a weekend and do drugs with Navy SEALs. It sounds like a great time. Sign me up. I had no idea what I was getting into. And it saved and changed my life. Some of you have maybe read the book Lone Survivor or seen the movie with Mark Wahlberg. I went down to Mexico with right there to my right is Marcus Luttrell, Navy SEAL. If you're a football fan or a Hawkeye fan, that's Robert Gallery, All-American from Iowa, College Football Hall of Fame, played for the Raiders, suffering from horrific CTE and other trauma. If you drink Black Rifle coffee, that's JT, Jared Taylor, and that's JJ. He's a Navy SEAL teammate of Marcus. I'll give you the Cliff Notes. We'll talk about it usually Wednesday of our Full Throttle training. This was not fun. This was not recreational. I've done some challenging things in my life, and this was one of the hardest. I reconnected with my God after losing my faith for decades. It destroyed alcohol in my life, and I reunited with my father and my sister. There isn't enough. I learned an SAT word when I got home, ineffable. I can't put into words what I experienced. It is physically impossible. So I got home and I said, nope, TOPGUN Fighter Foundation, that's too fighter pilot-ish. No Fallen Heroes Foundation. So the No Fallen Heroes Foundation gives grants to veterans, first responders, and their family members to heal with psychedelic assisted therapy. For the first couple of years, we were forced to go to Mexico, to Costa Rica, to heal our trauma that we incurred serving this one. What a disgrace. We have to flee this country to heal trauma we got serving it. Well, in 2025, in May, I walked into the VA, not as a protester, but the Secretary of Veterans Affairs said, Wiz, we love what you're doing, and we'd like to meet with you. And he looked me in the eyes and shook my hands and said, Wiz, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be us, and it's going to be now. So the No Fallen Heroes Foundation, you can go to nofallenheroesfoundation.org. We are definitely putting a dent in those veteran suicide numbers. I almost go on every retreat, and if I don't, I guarantee you I get a text afterwards that says, Wiz, you saved and changed my life, or Wiz, I don't want to kill myself anymore. It's just, this is my passion. This is my purpose. I love teaching people how to trade and make money, but again, somebody's always got a bigger boat, right? How much is enough, right? And I need money comes from a place of lack, right? Just assume you got everything you need and put the ladder down to try and help others, and God's going to help you out as well. So after being an advocate for a couple years and helping heal our heroes, I got pretty frustrated going to Washington, right? I'll never forget sitting with a congressman who, don't need to know the names, but behind closed doors, he said, Wiz, I love what you're doing. And I was like, all right, awesome. He said, well, you're going to have a problem with the big pharma, the alcohol and tobacco folks. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm going to have a problem with them? Isn't that your job? So I stopped. DC is a cesspool. It's disgusting. This is a we the people moment. This is going to come from us up, not them down, right? There's a revolving door between the VA and Big Pharma. So I've had it. In the middle of 2026, my beautiful bride and I said, you know what? Because she went and sat with the sacraments about 3 months after I did. This was just as a young Catholic being taught that the bread and the wine was the body and blood of Jesus. These sacred compounds that I used were sacraments for me. I was terrified of God as a child, as an altar boy. That dude's on a throne, on a cloud. You piss him off, you're going to burn in hell forever. That is not the God that I experienced. The God I experienced was nothing but love, light, energy, forgiveness. I remember encountering what God, and I couldn't even, the brightest, whitest, brighter than the sun, but I could look at it obviously, but I was ashamed. I was on my knees and I said, I'm a drunk, I'm a horrible father, I'm a horrible human being. And I'll never forget, he said, just with a wave of whatever it was, that was gone. It was gone. And I'll never forget, he said, Matthew, I don't make imperfect things. I got those things. They're not yours to carry anymore. Now get up and let me show you what you can do. So we started an entheogenic fellowship down here in South Florida in the middle of 2026, where we sit in ceremony with these sacraments. I defended this country for 15 years. I defended the Constitution. Now I'm going to exercise my First Amendment rights to exercise my religious beliefs and my religious freedom how I see fit. What's this have to do with trading, Wiz? And again, I wanted to, that's perfect. It's been about 20 minutes so far. That's usually what I eat up during a live trade brief the first day of Full Throttle training. So I'm doing this separately so we can take that 20 minutes and trade with it. But speaking of trading, why are you talking about all this stuff, Wiz? Folks, 90% of trading is emotional. As I said a couple of minutes ago, if you're like, I have to go to this Full Throttle because I need to make money, throttle back, man. Need comes from lack. I want to make money. Folks, I get up every day. First thing I do is say what? Thank you. Get up. You woke up. You got a roof over your head, running water. You're watching this. You got the internet. You're doing better than about 90% of the people on this planet, folks. Say thank you. I don't care to what. I say thank you to God. I practice gratitude. Then I meditate, man, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon at about 3 o'clock. Man, I am centered. Then I go to hot yoga. And let me be clear, if 6 years ago, Wiz heard me talking like this in a live trade brief, I would have kicked my own ass. But that guy died on a mattress on the floor of a home in Mexico, surrounded by some pretty tough guys who did some incredible healing. But folks, if your mind, body, and soul are out of alignment, you're gonna suck at trading, I guarantee you. So listen to me. Let me teach you a little bit. Now let's start transitioning. What do you need to trade successfully? Man, I've been doing this, I'm going to age myself, 35 years. I started trading as a young ensign in, what was it, 1991, or is that 30? Yeah, let's just say over 30. 1991, I started investing, folks, right? So I'm going to share with you my lessons learned that brought me to where I am today. The first thing you need to do is be trained. What word didn't I use? You need to be educated. Wrong. The world, to steal part of a Calvin Coolidge quote, the world is full of educated derelicts. Take a look at some of our higher institutions, full of idiots. Training gives you a skill. Plumbers are trained, fighter pilots are trained, doctors are trained. So you need training, and you're going to get training in our Full Throttle program with something called Options Weapons School, where I take a building block approach. When I drove through the gates of Pensacola Naval Air Station that first day, I didn't know anything. They took a building block approach and in a short amount of time turned me into a steely-eyed fighter pilot flying off of a ship. Then you need a tight plan that has strategy, tactics that support the strategy. managing risk, contingency planning. After a trade or a mission is over, you need to debrief, get lessons learned, what worked, what didn't, and apply it to your future missions or trading. You're going to get a proprietary 7-step trade plan here at Top Gun Options. And then finally, after you're trained, you got a tight plan. What do you do with it? You need to practically apply your training and your trade plan in a practical application. And we do that in our live trade briefs that you're going to see during Full Throttle Week. Now, you might have saw the top of that slide that said, what do you need to trade successfully? And some of you might have said, what do you need to know how to, well, folks, I've been you. Now I'm really going to age myself. I started this before Al Gore invented the internet, folks. Like the early 90s, I'm going to the library to read on base to read books about investing and options and stuff. So I'd get to the end of a chapter or whatever and say, okay, now what? How do I practically apply this? Well, folks, I rose from that self-taught retail trader to being a managing director of a multi-billion-dollar Wall Street firm, folks. So, and obviously the CEO of the Options News Network, a financial media company. So I trust me, I kind of know what you most likely need. Let me show you what our current squadron looks like here at Top Gun Options. On the left side, training, right? We got to prepare you for combat. Trading's a form of combat. Make sure you go to the simulator building. I didn't read a book on flying the F-18 and run out to the jet and try and get airborne. I would have crashed and died. I read a book on flying the F-18. I ran to the simulator building. Just about every brokerage firm on the planet has virtual, simulated, or paper trading account. For example, at E-Trade, they give you $100,000 in monopoly money. Do not ever put real capital at risk if you don't know what you're doing. I think what was the movie, The Sands of Iwo Jima? I think Sergeant Stryker. Life's tough. It's even tougher if you're stupid. That's stupid. And I'm going to be very blunt in my training, folks. I'm a fighter pilot. I'm an options trader. I don't have time, for any, wishy-washy stuff. So in our training environment, we're going to talk about Solo Amazon usually on Wednesday or Thursday of Full Throttle. It's separate from Full Throttle. It's our gateway drug. It's our entry-level service. It's only $97 a month, folks. And I don't drink anymore, but that's a pretty bad bottle of wine. But that's solely focused on trading Amazon. Full Throttle. Full Throttle training is a little bit more in-depth. It's a couple live trade brief. It's the options weapon school sessions. We'll dig into this in a second. Once you're ready to put some real capital at risk, this, in the investing and investment world, we call that a Chinese wall. In the middle of it, Chinese wall. On the right side of the Chinese wall is our execution arms, our investment clubs. We have two of them. One is called the Hunters, and the other one, the most elite, our lifetime membership, is called Max Afterburner. And you'll learn about that during your membership eventually. Now, underneath, on the left side, Chinese wall, the paper trading, the Solo Amazon, there's Full Throttle. We have 9 options weapons school training sessions that you're going to walk in the door and go, man, I don't know how to fly a plane. We're going to start with, that's a plane. That's the wing. This is airflow. That's the weather. This is the engine. And we take a building block approach to turn you into a steely-eyed options trader. And that's going to be paired with the live trade briefs. This is a Reese's peanut butter cup, folks. This is how you become a steely-eyed killer. Options weapons school. Like I said, building block approach, 9 sessions. I couldn't even fit all of them on the screen because I added 2 new ones after this. Whenever we cover some pretty incredible new training, I add to this. But look at the top, Options Weapons School 1. Where does Wiz gather his intelligence? What's the basics of investing? What's his 7-step trade plan? It's not until we get to session 2 where I even talk about options basics. This is a call. This is a put. So folks, a nice building block approach to make you up to speed as quick as possible. Okay. You're also going to get access to our proprietary materials, your flight manuals, primary, intermediate, and advanced. Those things, let me go back real quick. They're worth their weight in gold, folks. I go back and read these every once in a while to brush up on some stuff. So these, do not undercount these. In the old days, this is all I had. I built Top Gun options for a young 22-year-old F-18 pilot who would, if I had had this stuff, Elon Musk would be working for me. I'd own my own aircraft carrier, right? But I trust God's plan. Now, our live trade briefs every Tuesday at 10 a.m. is the primary live trade brief, okay? Wednesday is AR, Accelerated Retirement. What's the difference? AR, retirement trades, usually further out in time, more bullish to the upside, a little bit more conservative. The primary live trade brief, we trade the front months. What's the front month? You're sitting in a front month, January, February, March. That's the front month. Whereas accelerated retirement, we can trade options trades 2-3 years into the future. So those are your full throttle briefs. And then we kick off the week, usually, with what's called solo Amazon. What do we only trade in Amazon? Solo Amazon, say it with me. Solo Amazon. It's like that Bugs Bunny cartoon. Who's buried in Grant's tomb? Solo Amazon is not included in full throttle. It's its own standalone service. It's the gateway. It's the first step in for people who are literally wanting to just dip their toe in the water. Okay? Now, 2 years ago, let me pick up my phone. We have an app. This app is absolute, no more text alerts and writing an email and everything like that. I'll still supplement with that stuff, but folks, you download our app, you get instant trade alerts, man. You could be sitting at death by meeting at work at 10:30. Your phone's going to buzz. There's a trade from Wiz. Oh, he's in the solo Amazon brief. I just got that solo Amazon trade. And if you're like me, I got my E-Trade platform on here too. I can sit at the hold short in my fighter jet. I can be in the gondola at Snowmass and be doing trading and sending out trade alerts. This is so cool, man. The Go Collab app. Our groups are on there. There's our lifetime group, the Max Afterburner. There's our hunters. We got threads. We got all sorts of stuff. It is just so cool. Now, let me just brief you my methodology before we wrap it up real quick, because you're going to see this during our full throttle training week. What's my methodology? I copied and pasted this from the military, folks. I'm not this smart, right? It's called SOT. Strategic, Operational, and Tactical. What does that mean? Most of you, before coming to Top Gun Options, you're a very tactical trader. What's that mean? You wake up in the morning, put your bunny slippers on and your robe, drink your coffee, and go, all right, what's on CNBC? You don't even know what you're doing for lunch, let alone what you should be trading or investing 2-3 years out into the future. You're very, very tactical. Not here at Top Gun Options. Our typical live trade brief, I'm going to start 10, 15 minutes. 5 minutes. It just depends. What's going on where? Around the globe, man. Economically, politically, militarily. Breaking news, Russia just invaded Ukraine. Breaking news, Hamas just invaded Israel. Oil's this. Breaking news, the U.S. just attacked Iran. Oil is, blah, blah, blah. The Greek debt crisis years ago. There are so many things. Breaking news, it appears China has finally invaded Taiwan. Where are the semiconductors made, folks? So if you don't have your binoculars up or your radar scope out strategically, you're going to get smacked in the face, right? After we do that part of our brief, 5, 10, 15 minutes, I peel the layer back of the onion and we get operational. What does that mean? What's going on here, man? At home. What's going on with the Fed minutes that just got released? The Fed press conference. What are the rate cut odds? How are earnings looking? Potential government shutdown. So we take a look at what's going on domestically here in the United States and how that impacts markets. And then, and only then, do we do what? We get tactical and start looking at trades. It's so funny. Sometimes during the early full throttle brief, I'll be doing this format, and somebody's like 10 minutes in going, hey man, I came for the trades. Where's the trade? And I'll right click on their name and I'll throw them out. Why? Because they're not going to make it here. They're a very tactical trader. If you can't think like SOT, we're getting to the trades, man. If you're like that, if you show up to a full throttle brief, like I don't need any of this other commentary. I just need trades. Beat it. You're just, we don't take everybody in our squadron, folks. Top Gun does not take everybody, and neither does Top Gun Options. So we're going to step through our trade plan this week in deeper detail. I'm going to go through that trade plan. You got it when you opted in to these briefs. Make sure you print that out have it next to your computer as we step through Full Throttle, okay? It's going to be, you're going to need it. We're going to focus on the tactical part of that. All right. Now, let's talk, because I hate doing this, man, but clearly it's a business. I just want to save time doing this now than doing it in the briefs. What's the investment required to get airborne? And in the old days, we'd take 25 a quarter. I got to be honest with you, it's a little too many people. I don't like a zoof. I don't need a zoo. I don't need 50 chats to me like, hey, I don't know how. I'm like, man, first of all, you should have watched your options weapons school training. So we want 15 folks, right? 15 folks who want annual memberships, and we'll talk about that in a second. This is an elite group, folks. This isn't, hey, for $3 trade, come true. We are quality over quantity, period. Because we don't take everybody, like I said. So right in the middle is where most people, 80, 90% of current members are in our Full Throttle annual. I'm not making any promises, but I cannot remember a Full Throttle. We're going on year 16 at Top Gun Options where I didn't pay at least for a year or several years of membership during the Full Throttle week. I'm one of the only people that does this. Most of the folks in the industry give me grief, like, what are you doing giving 3-4 days away for free? You should charge them at least something. I'm like, Not only am I not going to charge them for the free week, I'm going to end up paying for the annual membership. If you don't see somebody doing that, you see them giving you 97 PowerPoint slides showing cherry-picked trades from 10 years ago when they were profitable, you deserve what you get. So, not making any promises, but most of the time, knock on wood, we pay for Full Throttle with a handful of trades during the week. So, anyway, $29.95 in the middle. If you just want to check us out, get access to one of the investment clubs that I told you about, but try it monthly. You're not ready for the $29.95 yet. Just do $4.97 for a month or two. Guarantee you're going to shoot me an email or a chat in the thread and go, hey, man, upgrade me into an annual. I got it. You're not an idiot. If you're not ready for either one of those, do the $2.95. That's the tire kicker. That's your trial. Technically, free week of trading is your trial, but if you want to keep kicking the tires, it's $2.95 a month. Just know you're not going to get access to that Hunter's investment club, okay? Folks, this is cheap. There are... Keep the names out of it. There are some pretty crappy things out there. This is why Top Gun Options is elite, and we restrict our membership because we know what we're doing. I've been doing this, like I said, for over 3 decades. I think my best, I think it was COVID, millions of dollars we made. I have a whole Dropbox folder from COVID crash. I will show you all the screenshots. Little old ladies in tennis shoes who became millionaires. Now, I pray to God there is no another COVID crash, but what I'm telling you is I'm going to teach you how to potentially make money in any market condition, up, down, or sideways. The so-called smart money got destroyed during the COVID crash. We printed money. So I'm honored that you're here. I'm extremely fired up to have you joining us for our Full Throttle. One more thing I want to show you real quick. Before I forget, make sure you're following our YouTube channel, our Top Gun Options YouTube channel. You subscribe to it, you like it, you sign up to get alerts because I'll post these videos on there. I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos. I post some shorts videos. There's a lot of great content on the Top Gun Options YouTube page, okay? Also, make sure you're following me on Instagram. Official Wiz Buckley, a lot of great content on there. And finally, what is this? Wiz Buckley NFH on X, Twitter, whatever it is. Thank God Elon Musk bought this thing, man. But YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and obviously I'm on LinkedIn as well. Make sure you follow No Fallen Heroes and Sacred Warrior Fellowship on Instagram as well and spread our message of healing. All right, I'm really looking forward to seeing you. It'll be Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. If you can't make it, again, you'll get access to the replay page. But I'm so throttled up that you guys are joining us for the industry-leading Full Throttle training and training program. Have a great rest of your day. Fights on. Namaste and Basi Basi. Wiz out.